everybody. We're back, of course, late, but in our defense, the Pan Am Championships just ended, 2 hours ago?
Yeah. So
there was a good reason for us to be late this time. None of the other times were there good reasons, but this one for sure. Ursula, what are your upcoming seminars that these fine people need to attend?
Well, I have two coming up, and I've mentioned the first one a couple of times already in Oregon. It's when I'm going to go and move in with you and Amy. So my move-in date's the 25th, by the way, June 25th. June 22nd through 24th, I'll be in Springfield, Oregon, and then at Eastside Barbell Weightlifting. And then August 24th through 26th, I'm going to San Diego to Validus Elite Training Center. And then, I've got some USAW courses on the schedule, but one that I wanted to mention specifically was in Hawaii. I'll be in Hawaii doing both a level 1 and a level 2 over the August 17th through 19th. So I wanted to put that out there. I've got a couple here in Austin that I'm doing in July and August as well. But I wanted to make sure and get the ones on Hawaii. I'll be at Taken Not Given, which is the gym that I've frequented to go and teach USAW courses for them. So that's the seminar plan.
All right, guys, get on it. You're missing out.
You can tell my enthusiasm I'm so tired.
It's far greater than my enthusiasm has ever been for a seminar. I love you guys, but I really just don't like doing seminars. It's too much pressure.
You like it once you get in there.
No, I like it once I'm finished and I haven't gotten murdered by everybody for doing a bad job.
Oh, please. I've been there with you. You enjoyed it.
No.
We had fun. You didn't think we had fun?
No, it was awful.
The worst part was you.
The people are always great. It's not that. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like talking in front of people and then doing that for 16 hours straight. It's really, really exhausting.
It's exhausting. And when you're demoing everything and you're showing them literally everything under the sun, like I try to do in my seminar.
Oh, I don't mind that because I'm an incredible athlete.
Oh, that's what I'm missing. That's what it must be. Well, I can barely get my elbows up in a rack anymore, and it's honestly it's a little embarrassing.
That is embarrassing. You should quit.
It is. I really should, but I'm
Jim
not.
Schmitz can still sit into a perfect bottom position in a snatch. What's your excuse?
No, I can. Snatch, I'm good. Snatch, I can sit in all day. It's the rack on the clean. My elbows are little, big fat tortoises that just don't want to move. I feel like I have, because of the tightness of my tricep. It's probably because of how strong my tricep is.
Yeah, how much benching you've been doing lately?
Yes. No, but I just have all this tightness, and it makes me feel like I have a fat elbow. I don't know how to describe it, other than I've got this little fat elbow that won't move around.
There's this technology
thing called stretching.
Yeah, I'm looking into it. I've heard good things.
Yeah, well, let me know.
Maybe when you're here.
I don't want to start until we get some conclusive evidence.
Maybe when you're here, I could go over a few things with you.
It hurts so bad.
Oh.
For a while, I was front squatting with straps. I was just shoot me now. Just fucking shoot me now. It was so painful.
Weightlifting is pain, and life is weightlifting. So life is pain.
But it used to not be. It used to be other kinds of pain that were
but you used to be younger.
Shut up.
Oh, I'm just saying. You used to be younger, and you had less mileage. I remember being younger.
Less mileage.
You could sleep 3 hours a night and still be fine.
A 69 Corvette, basically.
Train all day long. Don't eat. Yeah.
Chew bubble gum.
Do you say you're a 69 Corvette?
Yes.
Oh, I'm a 73 Corolla. It's like missing one of the seats.
I was thinking it's like a Volkswagen minibus.
Yeah, I'm like the Corolla, but the engine has been removed, and I'm just
doors are gone.
sitting and rusting on the side of a road.
Oh, we should probably talk about weightlifting. Oh,
Probably.
are we?
Yeah, it's everything we talk about is important. Okay, guys, if you're still listening, let's go ahead and get to some questions.
We might do some questions
From you, our lovely listeners.
But I'm not going to go into it because I'll just get pissed off all over again. But I'm just going to say this much. Where Derek and I showed up for weigh-ins, where we were told to go for weigh-ins, was not where weigh-ins was.
And was far away.
And where weigh-ins was far, far away. And we showed up at the last minute to try to get weighed in, like right at the end of weigh-ins. But of course we weren't in the right place, so it really didn't matter. And we did that because we didn't have hot water that was hot enough. And I became very familiar with the tea kettle.
Yeah. And the low capacity electrical system at the hotel.
Yeah, I put out the electricity a few times. Or a sauna. There was no sauna. The sauna opened at 8. The sauna was only open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So, the effort there in terms of they tried to put us in a hotel that said they had a sauna and hot water, but they ended up, neither were of any use to us because there was no hot water. The hot water wasn't hot enough and the sauna wasn't available.
Thankfully, the sauna was available in time for the weigh-ins for the supers.
Yeah, no, it was 8 a.m. They told us 7 a.m., but it's Dominican Republic, so if they tell you 7 a.m., you should assume 8 a.m.
Huh.
Which is why we ended up, getting hot water made, and he made weight, but it didn't matter because we weren't in the right location. So he was lifting as an extra lifter, which is annoying all in and of itself because that's not what we were there for. But anyways.
Well, my gal had a decent day. She didn't have anywhere near her best total, but she couldn't total at Commonwealth because of a shoulder injury. So she came back from that and had a decent day.
I didn't get to talk to her.
Oh, I told her not to talk to you.
Oh, shut the fuck up. I did see a little
Stay away.
Girl. I was like, maybe that's her, but I didn't want to go and...
a what? A little tiny Canadian girl?
No, yeah. Isn't she a tiny Canadian?
Yeah, she was the only little tiny Canadian girl there.
Yeah, I saw.
That would have been her.
And
then she got stuck. She was supposed to fly back Tuesday morning. She lifted Monday. She got stuck at JFK. So her flight got delayed until late at night, and then got canceled, and they couldn't get her on another flight until 9:30 p.m. the next day.
Oh, Jesus.
So she lived at JFK for about 36 hours. Got home like early morning yesterday. Had to try to sleep, then train because she's got nationals on Sunday.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
That's an awful
story. And that's after she had Commonwealth Games in Australia 5 weeks ago, and then a week and a half before that she had the Ontario Championships. Shit. So this is like the worst competition season ever, but she's been kicking ass. So
well, we got to get back on it. We got nationals coming up. Of course, a lot of the team did really well at Pan Am's.
Yeah.
I saw some really good performances. I'm sure everybody was watching. So overall, the team on the whole did really well, I thought. And
yeah, we had medals. What? Alyssa, Caitlin, Maddie, Kane, Wes. Who am I forgetting? Jenny. So yeah, we had a bunch of Harrison, right?
Yeah.
CJ looked amazing. 6 for 6.
He was fantastic.
He pretty much push pressed 180 on his final attempt.
I know. That's what I was telling him. I was like, you barely even sat. That's exactly what I told him.
He dipped deeper for the jerk, then he had to move down to get under it to receive it.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
That kid is from outer space.
Sharp. It was great, yeah. I was flying back, and Ray and CJ were on the flight with me. I was on the flight with them. And, so I talked to him a little while about all of it. You know, he's just such a great kid.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's just so sweet. Such a good kid.
Yep.
I mean, and Ray does a great job with him. It's amazing.
Yeah. I like
and a
both
6
of them
for
a
6
lot.
performance. And I asked him, I was like, you feel more comfortable with like the power jerk and then the squat jerk? And it's like, yeah. So, you know, I'll just trying to figure out what's best for him. But I think they're on track now. Because those were easy lifts.
Yeah.
Really easy.
He's a stud. No question about that.
And he's still got a long way to go.
Yep. Okay. Seriously, this time I mean it when I say we're going to get to questions.
Okay, let's get to questions.
I have this vision of people just like slowly wandering off away from the sound of this podcast.
Like my voice is just soothing. They've all fallen asleep.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's that.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah. Colm says, "Hi, Greg and Ursula. Big fan of your podcast. The information is great and the banter between you guys is hilarious." Oh, we'll see. Look at that. We're making Colm happy at least. 28-year-old lifter from Northern Ireland. I've been weightlifting for just over a year. My best competition numbers are 107 and 131. Lately in training in the last 8 to 12 weeks, every time I snatch or power snatch, I seem to absolutely smash my pubic bone. I had this issue when I first started, but as my technique improved, it resolved itself. Is this a technical problem, or do I just need to harden the fuck up? I wasn't going to swear at all this episode, but Colm opened the door, so now I feel like it's appropriate.
Yeah. Now it's on.
Yeah.
Neither of us, I mean, until we read it, we're not even inclined.
Exactly. I haven't made any changes to my start position or grip width, so I'm totally stumped. Any advice would be greatly appreciated, either on the podcast or direct me to a previous article you've written. I've looked but couldn't find any that had more than a passing mention of this issue. Wishing you all the best. Thanks, Colm. Well, I can think of a couple potential issues, but aside from addressing Colm's very specific situation here, we should probably just address the whole pubic bone issue in general for those who use the banana slam technique. Or the smack-a-pult.
You couldn't tell without the banana. Why do you have to create an image?
Because I'm trying to paint a word picture here. We don't have images.
You did it.
Yeah.
Completed.
Okay, so first of all, don't buy padded underwear. That's not the solution to this problem. If you're old enough and you require Depends, that's fine. I will not judge you for that. But that is not, incontinence has nothing to do with snatch technique, or it shouldn't. If you keep slamming your pubic bone, who knows what's going to happen though. So for the first thing you want to understand is that the bar should not contact you on the pubic bone.
On any bone.
Well, yeah. So that's a great point. Thank you for clarifying.
Kneecaps, pubic bone, iliac crest,
cranium. Forehead. So if you look at basically what one might call the fupa, between the pelvic bone and the anterior superior iliac spine, right? That forward edge of the top of your pelvic crest, the bar should be contacting between those 2 points, right? So that's even if you're super lean, that's a padded area. It's muscle tissue. It isn't a bone that runs between those 2 parts of your pelvis.
For me, it's a C-section scar.
Well, see, there you go. It's already totally desensitized. Perfect.
Yes. And demarcated, so I don't forget. Just hit the line.
We'll draw a chocolate. Oh no, you're good. You're all set. So that's first and foremost is when you're figuring out what your snatch grip is. That's where you're trying to make contact with the bar. So I use just the crease of the hip landmark because that's a simple way to put it. But I've noticed more and more in the past few years that that's not always clear to people. So, between the pubic bone and the that forward upper part of your pelvic crest. That's where the bar should be contacting in the fupa. What can happen though is number one, you may have proportions such that that's impossible or improbable. If you've got super long arms or super short arms.
Not to interrupt you, but I'm gonna.
Yeah,
he said that he used to hit his pubic bone, and then it resolved himself when he improved his technique, and now he's back to doing it again.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. But I want to cover this subject in general, so we don't have to revisit it in 4 episodes. But yeah, we can definitely figure out why this changed, because I'm going to argue it is a technique thing that's changing. It just has nothing to do with what he mentioned, the starting position or whatever else the other one was, or grip width. So if you are kind of locked into a grip width that does put the bar right on your pubic bone, you still have a couple options. One, which I think is the better one, is that you basically shrug your shoulders up and back a little bit in that second pull before you finish the extension. And that actually, you can get 2 or 3 inches of bar movement easily with that relatively small and pretty strong motion to get a better contact point without rowing the bar up with your arms. So I prefer that over having people do the old cornholio bendy arm snatch thing. As far as what likely would change, I can see 2 things happening here. One is like an acute thing due to fatigue, and one is because he's actually changing the way he's lifting, intentionally or not. But in either case, if you don't stay over the bar long enough, if you initiate that second pull, that final explosion too early, that's usually a really good way to smash yourself in the pubic bone if your grip width doesn't normally cause the bar to contact you there. So basically, the longer you can stay over the bar, generally the higher up the bar is going to contact you. I shouldn't say the higher up, I should say in the more appropriate spot. And it shouldn't contact you until you're pretty much in that power position where your knees are at the most forward point of the scoop and your trunk is about vertical. That's about the position where that bar should be contacting your hip. If you're contacting before that, you're probably dragging it a little bit, or you're kind of hooking your pubic bone. And then if you get really gnarly and you just have a really kind of humpy hip extension, that's going to exacerbate the problem where you have more of a collision versus the bar and body contacting, but being very close prior to that contact, so there isn't a bunch of smashing going on. Ursula, jump in here.
You've said it all. So I have
Repeat
3 words that I wrote. I wrote, you've become impatient, so you're contacting lower and jumping earlier. That's possible. So instead of waiting till the bar's all the way into where it should be to jump, you're jumping earlier, and so you're contacting earlier as a result because of just impatience. I think that's a possibility. The other one relates to what you were saying about not staying over the bar long enough, and this affecting the angle of the bar as it comes into your hip. So if the bar has gotten some distance away from you, and then you stand up and bring the bar to you, you have that direct collision that you're talking about, where the bar is moving horizontally in space and so are you. And so the two just bang into each other. So I would work on, maybe go do some snatches off the blocks and like a pull plus a snatch, and make sure you're fine, or just stand to the jump position, just stand to your power position for a couple of reps and then do a snatch. And making sure you're staying over the bar till the bar actually contacts and the bar's coming to you. You're not thrusting your hip to the bar, and the bar's staying close as it comes to you. And then, making sure you're standing high enough so you're not getting impatient and contacting and jumping early.
Yeah. I mentioned fatigue too, which probably is not what's happening here, because you say it's the last 8 to 12 weeks. And if you're feeling super fatigued for that entire 3 months, that's probably, you got bigger things to worry about. But When you do get tired, it gets harder and harder typically to stay over the bar and to time, a snatch and clean well. Your back gets a little blown out, so your body wants to open up sooner and get your trunk to vertical sooner, so it doesn't have to keep your shoulders over the bar. So just one more thing to consider if you are having this problem. I guess I should write an article about that, huh? I feel like I could have sworn I did, but we're at the point where I have too many articles, so people can't find things. I'm gonna have to figure that. Also, people just don't.
I know nothing of that problem.
Every Instagram video I see someone post, I'm like, yep, did that. And people are like, why don't you ever write about this? I'm like, oh my goodness.
Well, maybe it's time to just start rewriting things you've already written.
An old writer friend of mine did tell me that the key to success as a writer is self-plagiarism.
There you go.
Oh my God. Perfect.
It's time to re-release.
Yeah. 14th edition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Update, revise, and re-release.
Let's see here. Brad. G'day, Greg.
G'day, mate.
And Ursula.
Or whatever.
I like how and Ursula is parenthetical.
Parentheses. What the fuck?
That's okay. We get plenty that are like, Ursula, I love you, and Greg, I tolerate you.
As if I'm possibly here.
Well, I mean, hey, we never quite know if you're going to show up. Let's be honest.
Offended.
Okay, well, only a little bit, so that's fine. First of all, I love the podcast and enjoy the banter between you guys, as well as the great advice and information that you provide. I also love your book, Greg, and it is required reading for all my coaches. Thanks, Brad. I think that's a terrific idea. My question relates to retirement from competition. I'm a master's athlete, just shy of 40, and I've been competing in weightlifting for the last 4 years after switching my focus from CrossFit to exclusively weightlifting. While my numbers aren't massive, 95, 125 at 77, I've done pretty well in the masters competitions and I really enjoy competing. I also enjoy the focus that comes with having a goal and events to train towards. I have a very experienced coach who is a former high-level lifter himself, and I am very diligent with my form and technique as well as my recovery, although I could do more stretching and mobility work. Yeah, sounds like Ursula could too, so don't feel bad. However, over the last 4 years, I've had to have 2 shoulder reconstructions. One was to rectify wear and tear from Army/CrossFit days. I like how those two things get lumped together as being like similar amounts of abuse. And the other was caused by my own stupidity attempting to snatch 100 one too many times when fatigued. And as of this week, I am now staring down the barrel at a meniscal repair of my knee.
Oh, that's not a big one.
Yeah, that's easy. So my question is, when is it time to stop competing? I love lifting and training heavy and competing on the platform, but it seems my body is telling me it is time to back off. I'm still getting stronger and hitting PRs every few months in different lifts, and I feel like I can still improve on my total. Until my latest injury, my body felt great and I was in a good place training-wise. I'm sure that this is something that you and Ursula had to reconcile at some point, yes, and decide when enough was enough and to start lifting for fun and stop chasing the big weights. I have a physical job, first responder, and am married with a young son, so I feel that consistently getting surgery is not only stupid and selfish, but also impacts negatively on my job and family. Any advice that you can offer would be greatly appreciated, even if that advice is suck it up and deal with getting older. Thanks in advance, and apologies for the long-winded question.
Well, the first thing is train smarter.
Yep.
Quit putting yourself in that situation.
Yep.
You know you're not supposed to attempt 100 more than a couple of times. If you're tired, and you missed it, you just missed it. Like, move on with life. There's another day. You always have to think about there's another day to train.
Yeah.
There's another competition.
And you have lots of days. You're only 40. You're not 65 or
And you've
80.
only been doing it for 4 years. You're just like skimming the surface. The average career length is 13. So you're like 1/3 of the way into it. The fact that you had other things that were going on before you started and then probably made lifting less fun and comfortable to have shoulder issues, I would just be really slow and diligent about the recovery from both the shoulder and the knee and be conservative as you're doing it. And then as you heal, you can resume. There's no reason. If you enjoy doing it and you enjoy competing, there's no reason to throw in the towel because you had to have some surgeries. Many people do, and they come back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think really what it comes down to is you should not retire from competition until you no longer want to compete.
Exactly.
Because you will always be able to compete at some level. And it won't always be at as high of a level as you may want to. But if you still enjoy the process, like you said, having a goal to train for, I agree. That's hugely satisfying, and it's very motivating, and it helps keep you focused. And if you like the experience of competing itself, then by all means, you should keep doing it. And like Ursula said, you just have to adjust the way you're training to accommodate, the circumstances of your life, being a dad, being a husband, and being someone who's responsible for other people's lives on the job. And I think that there are so many ways to modify what you're currently doing. And before I get to that, though, I just want to point out this thing that stood out at me. So your best snatch is 95, and you hurt your shoulder trying to take 100 several times. Why are you trying to make a 5 kilo jump or a 5 kilo PR? That's one thing you should probably be changing right now. 5 kilo PR is great when you're 17 and you're making insanely fast progress and you're super healthy. And even then, it's probably not a great plan. There's an article, speaking of article on my website called The 1 Kilo Rule. And it goes about explaining basically why you should be setting yourself up for very small PR attempts to kind of maintain more frequent, more consistent progress. And then you also avoid things like killing yourself trying a gigantic PR. So, I mean, that's an over 5% increase in a snatch. That's pretty gnarly. But that aside, just something to consider. You can reduce the number of days you're training. You can shorten your training sessions and you can do 2 exercises per session. That works really well for a lot of people. You can change how long kind of the length of your burdening cycle and your recovery cycle. So maybe you were going hard 3 weeks and backing off 1 week. Maybe you need to do 2 weeks hard and maybe only one of those weeks kind of moderately hard. So you go kind of moderate, hard, and then easy, in every 3 weeks. Things like that where you're able to continue training in a way that you enjoy, keeps you in the game, that you still have a ton of opportunity to improve. You can still train for competition. You can still go to competitions. And honestly, you'll probably end up making more progress because you won't get hurt.
Right.
And your wife won't be pissed at you all the time, for having to go take you to the ambulatory surgery center every 6 months. Ursula, what do you think?
No, I mean, I'm looking at 50 next year, and so I haven't competed.
You're just looking at it like 45. You're just considering
I'm just looking at it. I'm considering it, or I'm deciding whether I should check out beforehand.
See if I'm going to try this out or not.
See if I can make it there. No, when I do train, and I'm going to train again. Like I already know I'm going to train. I'm going to compete again. Haven't started exactly yet, but I will, and I'll probably train. Last time I trained like 2 days a week, and sometimes just one of those was actual overhead stuff. Just because it's you want to progress, but you also want to preserve. So you can progress as long as you have consistency over a period of time, and so. It's being able to keep going. Every time you have this hiccup, you set yourself back. So you should make your goal, part of your goal, to train under your potential for performance and wait until the actual performance to snatch 100. Not in the middle of training. There was no reason probably to try. I mean, I will only break PRs. Well, I won't break any PRs ever again, actually, but I'll only break, get to what are my really top lifts in competition, because training or trying to push the limits is just not, you can't do it that much. And of course, he's a lot younger than I am. I'm 50, he's 40. At 40, you can still do more volume and recover. But if you're not, or if you're getting injured, then you want to reevaluate your training schedule and figure out, like, if you have all these shoulder issues from before that you've had to recover from, then I would spend some of that training time doing post-hab work as part of your training, and include that as part of your training. With the knee, I would do the same thing. I would make part of the training that you do now needs to be related to making sure that both your knees stay strong and healthy, and not so much just squatting heavy all the time. So, and I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I bet it is.
But you are.
But I would put some money on it. And I circled the word army, and that kind of leads me to this idea that you're pretty intense and first responder. I mean, obviously this guy likes some adrenaline in his life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes you got to take it a little bit easier. And like Greg said, like every few weeks you can have like a heavy week where you push yourself, but then back off. And I'm sure you said you had an experienced coach to put you through this. He's probably telling you some similar things. But I would focus on technique and getting stronger over time and consistency. And you can have a really long career from this point on. And if you enjoy it, all the more reason to try to make sure you stay healthy so that you can continue to participate in events and not with pain, because that's the worst. To have to try to train through and with pain.
Yeah.
Leave that to the young ones.
Yeah, exactly. We let the young and dumb ones beat the living shit out of themselves. That's what that youth is for. I just want to emphasize what you kind of just said it in passing about, working on technique, and keep in mind that the more technically proficient you are and the more consistent you are, the less opportunity for pain and injury you're going to have. I mean, honestly, that is the best way to not get hurt. And you can do all the, prehab and stabilization stuff you want. But it's not a magic cure. If you do a bad lift and you end up in a bad position, it will give you a little bit of a buffer, but it's not going to totally save you from everything. So, the more proficient, really work on that stuff, work on your mobility so you can be as proficient as possible, right? Even if you kind of are able to develop the motor skills to do these movements well, but you don't have, adequate mobility to allow you to move into the positions and through the positions that you need, it's still going to be putting a lot more stress on your body. And
he says something else here about, like, he knew he was tired, but he was still trying to go after a PR.
Yeah, so
if you're tired, you're gonna get sloppy. And if you've already missed it once, you've probably already disturbed your movement pattern. Yeah. So the chances of you getting back on track are pretty low.
Right.
So, you have to know when to walk away from the barbell and go do something else. Like, in that workout.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention was speed. Like, as you get older, you lose speed. So working more with lighter weights is actually really beneficial.
Right. Yeah. You'll be able to work on that. I was just thinking about how I was never fast, so it's great because I don't really notice any difference now as I get older.
Huge difference in my speed.
Still below average.
Still tortoise.
One more thing that came to mind is there was a guy who used to train up at Mike Bergner's gym with us when Amy and I were there years ago. And he must have been mid-60s at that point, and he's still training now. So this is, over 10 years ago. But he had a rule that every year on his birthday, he would erase all of his PRs and he would start fresh with each birthday. And so you're only 40, you're not at that stage yet, but for other masters lifters who are kind of in that stage, like Ursula was saying, of more preservation than progress, that's something to consider. And it makes a lot of sense where, it becomes unreasonable at some point to try to preserve your PRs from age 25 or 30 when you are 50, 55, 60. Right? It's not going to happen unless you were really bad when you were 25. So again, that's why I'm going to be able to preserve my lifts for really long. But in that way, you kind of have...
What if I was really skinny and now I'm fat?
Well, okay, but see, that's we both know that's how you extend a weightlifting career is you keep going up weight classes. Yeah. That's fact. It's in the Soviet literature. So that's just something to keep in mind, that it's a way to kind of continue having, goals to chase and having kind of that excitement of, new PRs and seeing progress kind of from a different perspective, because, doing a certain weight at 65 is going to be a lot different than doing that weight or even more than that weight at 45. So you got to find a way to kind of change your perspective, and instead of just being bummed out and depressed because you're rapidly hurtling towards death, you can find a way to actually enjoy that training more and kind of stay motivated. And I still am trying to get back into competition, but I've had an elbow that's like basically hanging limply off my body for the past year and a half. I'm on my third PRP injection and pretty much at the point where I'm just going to say fuck it and start training normally again. And
what happened to your elbow? Because I have all sorts of elbow pain.
Well,
I never know what's wrong with me. I'll go check.
A year after I had my shoulder surgery,
I remember the shoulder.
Those of you who don't know, full supraspinatus tear, and then almost the entire labrum torn off. So it has 6 anchors in there. I didn't have full mobility. I still don't have 100% mobility, but it's not too bad. But so I was starting to train, snatch and jerk again. So that overhead with that less than perfect mobility on my left side meant that my right side was taking a lot of additional stress through that compensation. So my right elbow just developed some really bad tendonitis, and it just stayed and stayed and stayed and stayed and stayed. And then all of a sudden, a year later, it was basically just like rotted away. So I've had 3 PRP injections over the course of like 7 or 8 months now. So it's definitely better. It's nowhere near 100%, but it's at the point where I don't have too many darts left to throw. So I'm just going to pretty much go ahead and start training on it again and hope I don't have an exploding elbow incident. But I
have a lot of pain in my left elbow. I've been told I have tennis elbow and golfer's elbow. I have both. And
at least
I was
you're
like, that's
well-rounded.
fucked up because I don't do either.
You're cross-training.
Yeah, so like both sides are inflamed. And so, yeah, it just, it hurts the most when I'm like carrying my bag at the airport and shit like that. I swear that's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
I've got traveler's elbow.
Yeah, serious. IWF elbow.
Yeah, it hurts. And mostly once I get warmed up, I can tolerate it. But it's certainly, the left elbow is worse than the right. They both have a touch of it, though. I think it's just life.
Yeah. Once warming up doesn't do anything, that's when you've kind of gone over the edge.
Yeah, then you're fucked.
Yeah.
Not just fucked.
You're proper fucked. All right. Let's see here. Mike.
Power trigger. Switch.
This is the great opening sentence. Hi, love the podcast. Let's get that out of the way as quickly as possible, Mike. I was a power jerker.
No articles. One article.
Yeah. I was a power jerker until 6 months ago, then switched to split jerking. Everything has been great with the split jerk, except I have started to notice significant imbalances in leg strength and size in my right leg compared to my left, which is the front leg in the split. I think that was a little unclear, but I think he's saying the right leg is the bigger one.
Yeah, and it's his front leg.
Right. In the last month, I have also been dealing with hip shift issues in the squat mostly, but also to a lesser extent in the snatch and clean and jerk. When going for heavy attempts, I can feel myself placing more weight on my right leg, which I think has contributed to some knee issues that has developed in both my knees. What are some corrective exercises you guys recommend to deal with this issue? Should I stop squatting for a while to correct these imbalances, or can I still squat while still squat while the imbalances. Yes. Yeah, with the imbalances or while the imbalances there. Yes. Ursula, just start this one. I hate always having to be the one who starts.
I don't want to.
I want you to answer the question first, so I can just say, yes, I agree.
Well, I mean, right when he said, you want to be that side of it?
Yeah.
No, right when he said that his right leg is getting bigger, like that shouldn't necessarily happen because on your front leg, because you should be distributing weight over both legs. So it made sense to me once he said, I can feel myself placing more weight on my right leg. That's your bigger problem. So the first thing you need to do is work on your jerk technique, because you shouldn't have knee problems from your jerk, and you shouldn't have one leg carrying the majority of the weight in a way that it's creating this imbalance. You might end up with some imbalance, and what I would suggest you do is add in or supplant some of your squatting with unilateral work, like step-ups, Bulgarian split squats are kind of the norm in weightlifting. Some sort of lunges potentially. You could do some split squats or step-ups that don't put your knee going over your ankle temporarily, so that you don't have the knee problems exacerbated, which is part of why you're ending up with problems in the right knee, because I'm assuming that right knee is pushing forward over your foot, which it shouldn't. And that will cause some patellar tendonitis to develop quite quickly. I'm not sure exactly why he's ending up with problems in both knees. That's a little unclear.
I think it's because he's saying now that when he's squatting,
he's loading the other leg.
It's not clear, but it sounds like when he's squatting and when he's pulling and then recovering from the lifts and from squats, that he's shifting to one side.
Yeah.
So,
he's probably taking the weight off of the right leg and putting it on the left leg, and now his left knee's swelling. And that's what we would have to infer. But if that's the case, I would add in some unilateral work anyways.
Yeah. And
take out some of the squatting. I don't know that you have to abandon squatting altogether.
No.
But maybe do your squats a little bit more deliberately.
Yeah.
Slow them down.
Exactly. And pause squats, like slow eccentric, or
things,
a combination
making sure
of those.
that you're going down and up using both legs equally, with less weight. So you probably need to stop squatting heavy, and start working on it, trying to be more exact in the distribution of the weight. Go in and add some Bulgarian split squats and step-ups, and align the legs so that you don't have your knees shifting so far over your ankle until both knees don't hurt anymore, at least for the one-legged work. Because typically when you do them, you will have the knee going forward in both of those. But if there's a lot of swelling, you're just going to contribute to it more if you do that. But I knew you were going to interrupt me, so I was saved.
Whatever.
Go ahead.
So yes, I agree with that. I would add, so definitely unilateral leg work, I think is almost always a must. At least,
we do it regularly.
Yeah.
We do it like 1 to 2 of our workouts. And if I want to start taking, obviously, if you want to start taking load off the legs and start letting them rest, you can, and volume, period. Like if you want to reduce the overall load, I shouldn't say volume, the overall load, you bring your weight down once you do something that's unilateral. I mean, your reps may go up slightly because you have to account for the reps on each leg. But overall, definitely beneficial to do on a regular basis. And if you have an athlete with specific issues, it maybe they're more. Yeah. I really like front rack one leg squats. You ever do those, or front rack lunges?
Yeah, I really like them for other people. I don't enjoy doing them.
No, I hate them. They fucking hurt my wrists, and they're hard on your torso. Yeah, no, I hate them personally. I'm just saying I like the effect. Yeah,
that's a good exercise. It's an effective exercise. I will concede that for sure. And
you don't have to use a lot of weight.
No, and honestly, most people who are in this situation end up having really poor unilateral strength anyway. And so it takes a while to train this stuff and kind of develop the ability to move much weight unilaterally anyway. But so in addition to doing some, maybe cutting out, like if you're squatting 3 days a week, maybe you're going to squat only 1 to 2 days, and you're going to do, a step up one day and then a Bulgarian split squat another day, or lunges or something like that. But in addition to that, I would start directly balancing out the jerk work. And people always ask, like, well, should I do split jerks with both legs, like alternate legs? And usually my answer is no, unless you're a non-weightlifting athlete. But what you can do...
track and field athletes normally do.
Right, which is...
You see them.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. But if... You can still address that somewhat directly by doing split position related exercises, like a step to split, or a drop to split, or a walk to split. Or just
pressing. Are you pressing in a split position? Like put your legs in a good split position.
Yeah. Or you can do like the push, jerk, and split, or jerk from split with the your non-dominant leg forward. So you can do all those things, which are significantly easier than doing an actual split jerk with your bad leg, because you're not going to jerk as much weight with that off leg anyway. So you're not going to really balance it in that way. So by doing a little, some assistance exercises that are related to that split position specifically, I think you can really directly address it. And then the other thing to add is that just doing basic hip prep. And kind of, I hate the term. It just sounds gross to me. It sounds like a Perform Better catalog, but like, the glute activation stuff, the mini band around below the knees, and doing your side steps and monster walks and glute bridges with the band on the knees, and that sort of thing. And it takes a few extra minutes in your warm up. It's usually going to be pretty helpful. And then doing, with the single leg stuff, also doing some hinging, not just kind of single leg squatting stuff. So doing, like single leg dumbbell or barbell RDLs, single leg good mornings, things like that. And again, those aren't going to be super heavy, especially the good mornings. Those are awful. But that will help shore up your hip stability too, and which is going to naturally contribute to keeping you balanced while you're squatting. And but the reality, I'm assuming you would agree with this, because I've seen it be pretty true. Oh my god! Oh my god! Shut up! I was gonna unplug it. You did so well last time.
Well, because last time I unplugged it.
Last time I actually got comments from a couple people how it was so nice that your phone didn't ring.
Oh, whatever.
And now you blew it. Anyway. If you're a competitive lifter, you're going to have one dominant leg. If you're a split jerker, I would argue that it's always going to be a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger. You're always going to feel more comfortable. Just like, even if you're throwing a ball, you can train your non-dominant hand or your arm, whatever. It's probably never going to be exactly as strong and as skilled as your naturally dominant arm. So there's only so much you can do, and there's only so much you need to do. Right? It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. You just have to avoid being in some kind of compromised position that's going to open you up for chronic pain or acute injury.
I feel like he needs to do a lot of work in the actual split to redistribute the weight so that he's not putting so much weight on his front leg. I think that might make a big difference overall long term. But he needs to fix that now. Before it continues.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because getting some. We're talking about. I didn't get that from his question.
Where did you read that?
Where? He's only been splitting for 6 months, and he has significant imbalances in leg strength and in his right leg size compared to his left leg.
Okay, yeah.
In 6 months,
I see what you're saying.
You must be doing a one-legged jerk.
I think I overlooked yeah, he's doing the outrigger canoe where the back leg is just kind of a pontoon lightly touching the water periodically.
It's just hanging out there in the back of the space and like a toe point.
Yeah, I think we covered that split position in pretty good detail in episode or two ago, I think. But real briefly, that split position, you should be approximately 50-50 on the 2 feet. in terms of your weight balance, that front shin should be at least vertical or even slightly behind vertical. So basically the knee above the ankle. And like Ursula said a couple times, if that knee is in front of the ankle, you're adding a ton of stress to that knee, just based on the position alone, but also the fact that you're in a position where your body is constantly going to want to slide forward. So you're constantly having to fight that. Versus with that shin vertical or behind vertical, it's really, really solid, and it takes a lot less, force in the quad to maintain that position. And then the width, you should be at least about your squat width, side to side in that split position. Don't get in a super crazy narrow position either. Anything else on that?
No, I think, no. I think, all of these knee problems are probably stemming from poor jerking split position.
Yeah.
And then that's, like you said, causing the other knee. I was like, I wasn't sure, but yeah, it's a compensation issue.
Well, and the other thing you can do, which I'm sure we've mentioned before, is when you are doing split jerks, every rep you do, hold that split position for a few seconds and adjust and make sure you're actually in the ideal position. And that's going to help you start doing it consistently sooner. Because it's going to teach your body a lot more quickly what it's supposed to feel like.
But I guess his final question really was, should I stop squatting? And I would say just lighten your squats, make them deliberate, and add in some single leg stuff, and then work on the position of the split with the bar overhead locked out, and make sure that you have good distribution of weight.
Yeah, and if
position of the front tibia.
If you're having if the knee pain we're talking about is tendonitis or something like that, doing some lighter weight, much higher rep, even just squats, but especially the unilateral stuff, should help with that. Doing the slow eccentrics should help with it. Help that stuff heal, so you're feeling a little better. And then also make sure you're warming up your knees well. I see people like feeling all creaky kneed till they're 90% through their entire training session, and all of a sudden like, oh wow, my knees feel great now. It's like, well, yeah, because you just spent an hour and a half warming them up, and you spent no time warming them up before you started. So get the old, downhill skier knee circles in there, and, plenty of, bending of the knees, and kind of like, lunging and Spider-Man lunge, or excuse me, non-gender specific spider person lunge, leg swings forward and backward where you're really trying to open the hip and close the knee. Because we're so politically correct always, Greg. You're right. Well, I like people. I don't want to bum them out, but... I'm just kidding. I don't like people, but I'm not trying to bum them out. I'm an asshole. I'm just not that kind of an asshole. Now I totally forgot what I was going to say. It wasn't important.
Sorry,
clearly.
You were doing warm up, like you were giving the Forrest Gump, Bubba Gump shrimp example of warm up exercises.
Yeah, exactly. Go through the entire list of knee flexion related exercises, and then that should help. All those things will help you become a better weightlifter and a better person.
You're going to throw in a better person, because everybody's a better weightlifter by virtue of being a better weightlifter is a better person.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and then I stopped and thought about it for a second, and I don't think that's true. You could be a really good weightlifter and a really shitty person.
But you don't know where they started. Like, they could be a better person.
They could be a less shitty person. I don't even want to use the term better. Yeah. I think you have to at least pass the threshold of average before you get to use the descriptor better. Until then, it's just less shitty.
Yeah, well...
Progressively less.
I'm obviously the positive one here.
Oh, obviously.
I know. Scary.
Your positivity is positively overwhelming.
It is. On some days.
Boy, only when you're not on the podcast. People just have no idea.
They don't. Are we done?
we're wrapping this up. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for listening, as always, of course.
I'll be on the phone.
Yeah. Let your friends know about this podcast, this lovely little podcast that Ursula and I do.
Oh, and, Nationals is coming up. Are you going?
Am I going? Yeah, I got 8 lifters.
I'll see you.
Yeah, you so sure exciting. Will. I'm sure I'll be in a fantastic mood.
As usual.
This one's actually not going to be bad because I have a fewer number of lifters.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
As usual, than usual, and then also
I have an assistant that wants to do everything, or a co-coach.
I don't really have that, but I only have one session where I have 2 lifters at the same time. Usually, I have all kinds of conflicts, and it makes me nuts. So this one's going to be pretty easy.
We don't have very many, and then it's I'm doing some other stuff. We're doing another one of those like women
weightlifting. How to become an Olympian.
Yeah, that thing. But
Step 1, make the Olympic team. Step 2, go to the Olympics. Hashtag it. You are now an Olympian.
Step 2, hashtags. No, I'm going to go through the qualifying process in my part of the talk for the whole Olympic qualifying process.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who need some clarification on that, but which is important to know because it's how you get to the Olympics.
I would love to be there, but I don't even arrive until an hour after that thing starts.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't do that on purpose.
I specifically chose my travel to avoid your talk.
I wouldn't put it past you.
As if I couldn't have just not gone.
But this is easier. You're like
every time before.
I can't. I just can't.
Yeah.
I wanted to.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, but I'm going to do that. And then we have, obviously, lifting. This is my 30th Nationals in a row.
Dang.
And then you've got smart-ass people like Morgan saying, oh, really? I'm 30. Shut up.
Thanks.
Yeah. I just talked to her last night, and I told her that. And she was like, oh, that's when I was fine. That was the voice. I did it just like her.
That is spot on.
It was perfect. It was.
Spot on.
Yeah, my 30th Nationals in a row, so I'm pretty excited. It's some sort of a something, I think. So I'll make sure I celebrate. Yeah.
I don't even know
I should probably
what number it is.
Skip one year just to break this thing up.
Yeah, seriously. No, don't do it. You'll regret it.
Yeah. It's like, almost. But
all right.
It was never the intent. It just shit happens. You just keep going, and then you just
the rabbit hole is deep and long. That is true.
Yeah. You're stuck in the cycle. Keep showing back up.
Well, the next one comes around so quickly every time.
Yeah. It's like the
I was like,
year.
Oh, it's Nationals again. I don't even have a chance to quit yet.
I tried to get out of coaching.
I was planning on it, but just snuck up on me.
Now I have more
I'm obligated. Yeah.
That happens every single time. I think, okay, it's chilling out.
It's winding down.
Yeah, it's winding down. This is going to be the end pretty soon. There's more. You're like, where the fuck did you all come from?
Yeah.
And then you got more, and you got to go. So anyways.
All right, guys.
I'm looking forward to it, I suppose. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Amy.
Amy's not going to be there. You have to just put up with me instead.
Can't she go in your place?
I mean, no. she has a CrossFit Games athlete. She has to go to his regionals that same weekend.
Oh wow! Wow. I mean,
so
she's still coaching.
You guys are all stuck with me.
Wow.
I'm sorry to ruin your entire weekend.
I was really looking forward to seeing her.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking forward to seeing you too, but
whatever. Save it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm lying. All right, I'll talk.
All right, guys, go. If you have a few minutes, go leave us a nice, friendly, happy, enjoyable review on iTunes or Google Play or iHeartRadio or YouTube or Stitcher or whatever of the dozen other platforms this thing is on. We'd very much appreciate it. Tell every single person you know, grocery store line, bank teller, not the ATM machine. It won't listen. If you're one of those people who still goes inside of a bank and talks to a human being, You can tell them.
Or if you're the type of person that talks to human beings.
Yeah. I do, but only because I have to.
A few of those left.
Yeah. You find a way to work it into every single conversation you have. People will thank you later. But seriously, we'll talk to you in 2 to 6 weeks.
Stop it.
We'll talk to you when Ursula finds it convenient.
I'm out of school. We're back on track.
Good. School's for fools.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Seriously, thank you. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.